new witness is expected to testify in the ongoing Senzo Meyiwa murder trial in Pretoria. It will be the state's 8th witness since the trial had restarted. So let's get the very latest now from our reporter. Moloko Moloto joins me this morning to give us context. And Malume, a very warm good morning to you. Good to have you this Monday morning. I think, oftentimes when we know there's a new witness coming into court to testify in this trial, we almost preempt what's to be expected from them. But let's start with context and where we left off from last week. Good morning.
Good morning, Rahadi Tumelo Mtutwani. Well, we heard from a few witnesses last week. One, obviously, that was prominent was Tumelo Madlala, the childhood friend of the slain Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa, who was in the house on the day Senzo Meyiwa was gunned down. Importantly, he was asked a direct question to say, do you know who killed Senzo Meyiwa? And his answer was, no, I did not see who killed Senzo Meyiwa. Of course, this is despite him having said already in court that he saw intruders, one of them had a gun, and he also indicated that he had a gunshot, and that's when he fled from where there was some bit of a scuffle and went into one of the bedrooms. Now, importantly, in the statement, it was actually mentioned, the statement that, by the way, he signed. He had said in the statement that he had 3 gunshots. However, in court, he said he only had 1 gunshot. So he was asked about that contradiction, and he says, look, I really stand by my word, as he was giving evidence in chief in court that I had 1 gunshot. Another thing that he disputed, Tumelo, was the sworn statement that was made by Kelly Khumalo, the girlfriend of Senzo Meyiwa at the time, who was also present in the house. In her sworn statement, Kelly Khumalo is making 2 points that were up for debate in court. One is that after Senzo Meyiwa was shot, Kelly Khumalo says there was a lot of blood on the floor. And she also says in that particular statement that another friend of Meyiwa's, this is Mr. Mthokozi Zitwala, was among the people in the house who confronted and assaulted one of the attackers, or the intruders, I beg pardon. Now, Mr. Mthokozi Zitwala, in his testimony, he refers to those as itoti, essentially saying this is rubbish, it's not true. The person who says this is not telling the truth, and saying that there was never a lot of blood on the floor, saying that there were just spots of blood, and saying when it comes to Mthokozi Zitwala, describing him as somebody who didn't get into a confrontation, saying he's not hostile. He did not even become part of those people who attacked those particular intruders. So all those contradictions really were quite interesting to observe. But another one was that there was a point where he has had to do an identity kit. This was just after Senzo Meyiwa was killed. And in the statement by one, I think, Colonel Steenkamp of the South African Police Services, in that particular statement, Colonel Steenkamp is saying that Mr. Madlala is saying that he can only identify one of the 2 intruders. However, Mr. Madlala is saying, I have never said that. In fact, where I am, I can be able to identify both intruders. So that was another contradiction that was notable. Another contradiction was that in the statement that he signed for, he is saying that he is identifying or describing the gun that was used as what is called 3.8 special. However, when it comes to his testimony in court, he's saying, I know nothing about guns. I could not have said 3.8 special. I don't even know it. And he was asked by Advocate Mshololo, one of the defense lawyers, to say, did you tell those people who were taking the statement that you were unhappy with contents of that statement? He says, yes, I told them. Yet he continued to sign for those particular contents. So that for me was really what was interesting when it comes to the testimony. Of course, we also heard from the two people. One of them was a sergeant in the South African Police Services. He has since left the employ of the SAPS. Another one remains a sergeant in the SAPS. These two gentlemen, their responsibility, Tumelo, was only to download data and information from the cell phones and SIM cards of people who were in the house with Senzo Meyiwa the day he was killed. Notably important for me was when Mr. Elfas Mshwana, he was in the police services. He's the one who downloaded data from those who were in the house. Mr. Ngosi downloaded information of one suspect who is on trial. Now, with regard to Mr. Mshwana, he says he downloaded data from the cell phones of Kelly Kumalo and her sister Zandi, but also from Tumelo Madala as well as Longwe Twala. When it came to Senzo Meyiwa, he couldn't access his phone, the iPhone. The software, XRY software that he uses, could not override his password. But interestingly, he was asked by the state advocate to say, do you have the mandate as people who download this data to even retrieve information that's been deleted? He said, yes, usually during such cases, that is what we do. And the follow-up question therefore was, did you do that? Did you succeed in doing that? He says in this case, he did not retrieve information that was deleted. However, there were no follow-up questions. For me, that was quite interesting to say, why did he not download that particular deleted information if there was any? But to be fair to him, he did say that some softwares can retrieve and some softwares cannot retrieve deleted information, although he did not mention whether the one he was using has the capacity to retrieve deleted information.
Colleague, I'm sure you can agree with me, quite an eventful time that we've been seeing over and over again in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. I suppose this new witness, expected to also come to the stand today, will be adding another layer in terms of their perspective, their evidence they're bringing forward, in terms of what they have seen or perhaps have heard. That could perhaps bring us closer and closer to the truth. But I'll leave it there as we, of course, anticipate court to start and